All right, we're back. All right, so this is Doc Williams with Build With Me, and today we actually have a guest star, a special guest in the house. But Dan, I just
Yeah,
love to talk with you. I love to see you. Dan, tell the good people who you are and where you're from.
yeah, sure. I am Dan Parry. I am the co-founder of a company called Tectonic. It's a customer research company, and I am from London, so which is why I have a strange accent to everyone outside of London. And yes, I am one of the members of the 100 Days of No Code Mastermind, and a big fan of my good friend Doc Williams.
Good times, man. I love it. I love it. And your accent, first of all, I love it. If you could narrate my life, that would be wonderful. Oh, by the way, did you see the new video I put out about being doing voice work for audio descriptions? Did you see that video?
No, I didn't see it. No. Okay.
So I didn't realize that this was a big thing, but
Mhm,
with ones that are differently abled, I think that's the right term I should be using.
mhm,
Ones that are blind, they still watch movies and they need narration of what's happening.
mhm.
So there for Netflix and other programs, there are description audio for popular things, but not for all niche types of
Ah,
movies, animes, and that's a huge thing. That's a
yeah.
huge thing that you can be getting into. Your voice is perfect for that. So,
Thank you, thank you. Yeah,
um, th-
that'd be
that's
interesting. I guess would you have to write? Would they write the description, or would you describe what's on the screen yourself?
kind of so some people write the script and it's very like poetic and everything.
Yeah.
Some people are just narrating and they're just saying like
Ah.
this is what's happening, this person's turning, all those things. I didn't even realize this. My wife was talking about when she was at the theater with her friend's parents,
Mhm.
his wife was doing that because different jokes like slapstick
Yeah,
jokes, you hear it, but you're not seeing what the person's doing.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
so you just need constant description, like this person did this and all those
Mhm.
things. And I'm like, I didn't even think that was a need. So,
Yeah,
getting around it, a lot of people are like, what about copyrights and all those things? Well, if
mhm.
you're doing it yourself, think
Yeah. Then
about
it's
you can
yeah.
then they're just paying for your audio, your
Mhm,
description. So you're like,
mhm.
buy the film, do whatever, buy my audio that goes with
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah. And also, like, it's really good because if you build up a fan base because people like you, even if there are hundreds of thousands of people who do the same thing, people will buy your thing because they like the
Mhm.
way that you narrate and they like
Yeah.
the yeah.
It's crazy. I didn't even think about it. And they were like, your own personality, all of those things happening.
Yeah.
I was
Mm.
like, no, on point, on point. So so just keep that in mind as you're getting famous with this. Just remember the little people. Remember the little people.
Absolutely. No, oh, please. Mr. 5,000 new subscribers a day. Yeah. Mr. 90 minutes of work a day. Cool.
Listen, man, just trying out here. So this is good. So, oh, by the way, everyone watching on Periscope, YouTube, thanks so much. We're going to be talking about Adalo. So, all of your questions, we're going to be going into that. So, again, let us know what your questions are and all those things, and we're going to get into it. So, the reason, among other reasons, because Dan, this is probably going to spiral, and we'll talk about some other things. And by the way, good morning to you as well on YouTube. Thank you so much for watching. Tell me a little bit about your experience with Adalo. I'm going to kind of cue it up. I'm going to screen share right now. Tell me about it and what you use this for and all of that stuff. Could you?
Yeah, sure thing. So I'll just give a slight background as to why I'm a big fan of no code and then why I'm a big fan of Adalo. So I studied computer science at university. And on my first day, I knew that I was not a traditional coder. And I went back to my parents and said, "Hey, mom, like, I'm going to have to give this up." And she was like, "You've only got 3 years to go. Only 3 years. Do your 3 years, and then you can get any job that you want." Obviously, that was not true. It didn't really work out that way because my brain just, I didn't realize it, but my brain just doesn't work in a linear, logical fashion like that. And then I came into the whole no code world like through chatbots like 2 years ago when chatbots were like all the rage and everyone was just like, "Oh my God." And then slowly saw all of these tools coming out. And then I remember Adalo used to be called something else before it was Adalo. But yeah, that's how old I am in a no code game. And then they changed their name. But the reason why it's probably my favorite no code tool is because it is visual development first. Like you design everything from what you expect it to look like. So I come from a UX user experience background and a design focused background and an understanding the customer background. So like I visually know what this thing should look like, and I'm able to just create all the pages, create logins really easily. I can throw up a quick app really easily, and I just love it. I love getting the visual feedback of why things are or aren't working, and then I can fix it. So yeah, it's also the one for me that's had it's got a learning curve, and I'm still learning it as you would do any platform. But I think traditionally when people ask about no code, I always say go to Glide first, because the feedback of information to app is incredible. If you have 5 data points in a Google sheet, you can turn it into an app, and the magic just gets your brain going. But once you need some logic and functionality and like filters and all that kind of jazz, or you want it to look better or more unique in your way, then Glide doesn't suffice, and Adalo is the one for me. It's my favorite one.
It's so funny that you mentioned this. And first of all, this was something, especially as it's the channel's growing on YouTube, and a lot of people, I've been asking people just outside of the bubble of no code. And it's funny that you even mentioned when you're talking about Glide and everything, because I'm trying to explain no code, and a lot of people are like, yeah, that doesn't mean anything to me though. Like no code, they're like ordering a pizza is no code because it doesn't involve. I'm like, so there's a lot of, I thought it was interesting where when I'm trying to articulate better what it means, and it's just allowing you to be able to perform tasks in different ways faster. So like automation, you hate doing menial tasks. Like there's something that you can build that will automate it. You want to build something where you love a certain app like Instagram or this. I'm like, you can build that just like you said, visually. I'm trying to take out even no code, because every time, because someone reviewed the YouTube channel, and they're like, if anyone lands this, they're like, automatically they'll be alienated because they have no idea what this even means here.
100%. So, oh man, so I can talk about this forever. So the reason why I don't like the term no code is ultimately you need to understand what code is and how difficult it is or how easy it is and what it is just contextually for you to be able to understand what no code is. That's a bad place to begin a conversation. Like, so for a great example is just about a month ago, I come into contact with a lot of early stage founders who want to build apps and services and stuff. And because development is expensive and everything, and I like no code, oftentimes my team will pass them on to me, and we'll have a discussion about A, you should either learn this, or B, I can build this thing. The problem that you have is if you don't understand how difficult code is and what it means, no code seems like a cop-out. So what happened with me was a client came to me and she seemed really interested, and I told her I can do this, I can do that, I can't do this, I can't do that. But it'll be significantly cheaper in order for you to actually test your idea, because actually you don't know if anyone wants this or not in the first place, so you don't want to spend this money. She was umming and ahhing it. She felt like she wanted it a particular way, and then she disappeared for a month. And I was like, cool, excellent. I don't have to build anything for anyone else because I enjoy building stuff for myself. And then she came back. She was like, yeah, so I spoke to developers. Some people quoted me 5K, some people quoted me 15K, some people quoted me 35K. And after she'd spoken to enough developers, she started to understand what no code was. So if you don't have a frame of mind as to what code can do and how expensive it is, or how powerful it is, you won't know the limitations of no code. You won't know where it's falling down, or even so. Yeah, so that's why when I'm talking to people about no code, I try to abstract it away from no code completely and say, automation is, for example, is a much easier way to explain things, because it's like, hey, you do these 5 steps. I can do this in 1 step. Oh, cool. That will save me 10 minutes, 20 minutes a year. Cool. You going to look and search for things repeatedly, we can just automate that. People kind of understand what automation is because they've had the media telling them automation is going to change your life and ruin your life and all your jobs. So they understand what automation is. However, the no code piece is a much more difficult place to start. But I do think the visual development thing is a stronger way to be able to explain to them, oh, you could build an app just by designing it.
And that's exactly right. I think it's almost having that reference points. I love that. By the way, the chat is already saying, Dominic's saying so true. Experienced that with a lot of clients. We have another one in the chat. I think it's DN2 Art talking about, and we'll get to his question talking about or that person, Bubble versus Adalo. So this is good. One thing I was going to say, and I don't think we've talked about this even in the mastermind group, but I'm reading this book called Da Vinci, and it's his whole work. And they were talking about Da Vinci, how he described himself and how he put himself in like 3 different categories. He put himself as a engineer, an architect, and then I have the last one over there. I think it's mathematician. I actually have it on the wall, but I'm blind, so I can't see that far.
Even with glasses.
Yeah, I'm just like, well, it's just that. But what I liked about it, it was talking about the different categories of what he was good at and how he pursued that passion to get things done. And people would hire him for those type of things. I think no code can be done in those different types of ways, such as, to me, I view like that art portion that Da Vinci's talking about. Well, I think that's Figma, different ones that allow you to mock up, ones that have more architecture is different than engineering. I view it more like automation, the guts of underneath the hood, and then the architecture, like him building cathedrals and everything. I think about that like almost like Adalo. That one, building it, it's a full house. You can go in, you can experience it, and have that. And I think sometimes with no code, it's really hard to parcel or like break it up and like which direction you want to go. And then again, like articulating with the client exactly what you're saying. I think it's almost having a portfolio and just saying like, what do you want to happen? What are you familiar with? Okay, this is traditional. Like blow their mind and then be like, this is what I'm going to do. But there's even one other layer. I wonder if it's important for the client to understand how easy or what you're doing, because as long as you're giving them what they deliver, you can be like, this is all this stuff you're never going to do in your lifetime and don't have the money. I've got a solution. I'm just going to do it for you. And it's X amount. And you're cutting out that bridge. What do you think about that? How do you feel about it?
So I feel a bit weird about it, and only because that only works for experienced people. If you are relatively inexperienced, you're like, I really want that interaction on my app because that's what's gonna get people to stay. And me and you are like, that's not what's gonna get people to stay. Like, if nobody wants your app in the first place, and it doesn't matter what the interaction is. So when you're building your products and services on Notion or whatever, or when building things, or when I'm talking to people and trying to understand and extract what their needs are, I'm like, oh, you said you want this, but actually you need this. If I just build this thing and charge you for it, you'll pay for it. It doesn't matter what it looks like because you've been underserved.
I'm so glad that you mentioned that. Okay, so this is, and my wife has this poster of like how to get out of like meetings, or like how to be the smartest person in the meeting, and it's so cliche, but it's what you just said is so true. Sometimes we say like, let's just take a step back, or just like everyone just take a step back. But honestly, a lot of people fixate on the wrong thing. If you expand their world, they're just like, oh, I don't even need that. Like, I don't even need that. There was someone wanted a streaming app, and they're like, I want it to be Netflix and all this stuff. And they're like, I need VC funding. I need all this. I'm like, do you even have a landing page that validates that people even want that type of entertainment? They're like, nah. I'm like, well, before you ask me and go do that and come back with data. And they're like, oh, didn't know like I could do that. So that's so interesting that you mentioned that. I love that.
It's really, I think, because I used to be there too. Like when we first started, like we built a music tech company, and it didn't really work, and there were multiple reasons. But it's now we're really of the mind of, oh, okay, let's get some evidence first. What's the most amount of evidence I can get for the least amount of money?
Yeah.
And then from there, I can then go on. Like everyone's always talking about scale as well with some of these apps. And like most people have never, whether they've coded an app or not, most people have never made any money on the internet. Doesn't matter whether your app is coded or no coded. You've never had 100 users. You've never had them pay £10 a month. So
Yeah.
like validate that stuff first before you talk about code or no code. Like, yeah.
You're so right. You're so right. By the way, we got Sako in here talking
Oh, yeah,
about the
legend.
listen. Thanks so much.
Popping bottles.
Yeah, exactly. Oh yeah, we already see you over there with Webflow and everything that you're doing. Great to see you. Thanks so much for being here. Really do appreciate it. Sako, you're the man. If anyone needs anything just mind blowing, you want to see like pushing the edge, and he had a whole talk called like pushing the bleeding edge or something to for no code. He did it with zero code the other week. Go look for Sako, and I'll drop the link for his Twitter, and check out what he's doing with Webflow and everything. He's got tons of things going on with I think Bubble. He's doing the next one, and he's doing stuff with Adalo, and he's got a whole other experience. Can't wait for makers.
Thing coming out. It's just
so it's just, and listen. Oh, the only thing I miss. We're using StreamYard today. The only thing I miss, I usually have sound effects and horns when people drop in. I don't have my sound effects pack. I had to redo it, but we would already done that for you, Sako. Thanks so much. Make money's in here. Thanks so much. Oh man, we love your work. So thank you for being here. So many people are in this chat. So again, thank you so much for the support. So that's as we're talking about this. And DN2 Art, let me know if you want me to call you something else. But if I'm saying it right, let me know. I'm dyslexic. I'm trying to read this stuff out here. DN2 Art, I think. He says, I think that's where I'm wrong, trying to figure out how to get it built. So this actually goes now into a platform. So we've been talking about no code, talking about validating. People are saying yes. Dominic, again, watching for a long period of time on Periscope too. Oh, Deshauna. Yeah. Yes. Okay, Deshauna, thanks so much for being here. So, okay, so what we see right here is I'm struggling with Bubble versus Adalo, designing an authoring writing app that has dynamic variables with piping. Okay, so Deshauna, this actually is perfect timing, kind of exactly what me and Dan were talking about. Break this down, and we're going to talk about Adalo in a second. And I want you to share what you've been building too, Dan and Adalo. As you're talking about Deshauna, bring it back. Like, take a step back. Is this app for yourself? Are you scratching your own itch? Are you doing it for a client and like you're good at this and they want this too? Talk about that a little bit, and then also, I would even say that one feature. Like, what's that one thing that you need the app to do that makes it the best thing? Like, you only have one feature, almost like Instagram, right? It only took pictures first, right? And do the filter, and then it added all this other stuff in this shopping component, whatever. But it started with one. What is that one feature you want? What do you think about, Dan?
Yeah, I think the one feature thing is really important because there's usually a key problem that your customer type is having. And if you can solve that problem more effectively, faster, cheaper in one way, and can communicate to them and also can access enough of these customers as well, because there's so much more to building the app or building a business than the app. So like people concentrate on the app part because traditionally that's the most difficult part to them. No code makes it easier, but you still have to learn things. But does the customer want what you have? Can you find enough of these customers to make a legitimate business? Like, will they stay on your app and keep paying you? That's your monetization strategy. So yeah, the key by simplifying every part of the process and testing and trying to understand what the ideal situation is, it will allow you to be able to move significantly quicker. So for example, you may not need all the features that you think you need in order for you to find the right types of customers. So I would focus on one feature first and try and make sure that feature is right, your messaging is right on the landing page. Because if your feature is great, but your landing page doesn't convert, then you're screwed. So there are so many different aspects to it. But based on what you were saying, I think that Bubble would be the app based on some of the complexity that you're thinking about, because I don't think Adalo is quite there yet. But yeah, that's
That's
my heads up.
and this is the whole thing. Actually, we were talking about this on the mastermind the other day. Out of everyone in the mastermind, there's only one person that has been proficient at Bubble. First of all, how's your journey going? I hate to do this like in public, but how are you doing? How you feeling?
I paused my journey. I took a deep breath.
I like how you said that.
Yeah. Like I was just like, yeah. It's an interesting one because I think you have to, as a maker, you kind of have to decide what your thing is. So, like, depending on whether you want to make complicated apps that are super powerful, or whether you want to learn things, or whether, like, depending on what you need to do, each of the different apps and services have different different learning curves and different needs and requirements.
This is so she's giving more details. She's giving more details. Deshaun is giving more details. Solving the problem. So, Dominic saying same Bubble. Listen, bro. I'm not even gonna go down this rabbit hole, but if you're trying to get to market, and this actually goes better. So Deshaun says, listen to this. This is great. She says, solving the problem of authoring a book and content like Headline and Magic Flow, but not much more. But much more. Okay, so this is the whole thing. Headline, if you're looking at what they're doing, look at this right now using Landbot and Forms, want my own SaaS. Okay, so I want to really talk about this for a second. I'm sorry. What is like a micro SaaS? What do you need it to do? Because if I'm looking at Headline, okay, first of all, do you have authors buying in even just to that point? The buy-in there. What I almost think about, you need to have feedback loops to what's happening. Oh, yeah. You'll see my camera come back. Don't worry, it's my DSLR. Don't worry, y'all. Don't worry. It'll be fine. When you're looking at that, going to market and having a micro SaaS, you can have a micro SaaS with a bot. That's still a micro SaaS or a software as a service. If you can still accomplish that, if people can validate it and people want to pay it. If an author finds value in it and you're using those types of those products, it's still that MVP. It's still a micro SaaS that you founded. You're just versioning up later on. So I want you to, before you take it to Bubble and go down there and start heavily drinking and go down that rabbit hole, you've got to think about, can you validate the very basics? Like if we can go to Headline in a second, I really like that analogy. If anyone hasn't seen it, Dan, have you messed with Headline before? Do you know what it is?
I've seen it. I've seen. Yeah. It's the GPT-3 powered headline maker, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So if you're going to be Headline for authors, define what they're going to be getting out of that, right? And then from there, I forgot they just got it bought. Like someone bought it, right? A couple months ago. I'm going to their homepage. I'm like, oh, it looks totally different.
No, I think he just updated the site.
Say it again.
I think he just updated it.
Really?
It's just a new design. Yeah.
Oh, see, I thought it was on Twitter that he bought it a couple months ago. That's interesting. Okay, but no, then I'm wrong. My bad. It just looks like a better site. It looks like someone just bought it. Let's go here. So if I'm sharing my screen right here, I think I'm on the right one, right? Am I the right one?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, product hunt. Okay. So if it's right here, Deshauna, if you were talking about this, yes, complete framework of an idea and a complete idea to market. Okay. So you can do a lot of this in chatbots because I've done it with Google Forms and actually with Google Slides, because we use the template. You would put it in Google Forms and then it would make a custom outline of a storyline in Google Slides. You can actually do that with Zapier, and people validate the idea, and then we went to outgrow.co. So, and I'm not saying you have to use that, but if you're doing something like Headline, I would say if you're trying to do the framework of the idea to complete in product and marketing, how about idea to the first thing? So like 1 to 2, instead of before going all the way, drill down with authors. What is the most painful section of that process? And also validating what is so painful that they're willing to pay for it. So if they might go from idea to, I don't know, a book title, I don't know this, okay. But is it more painful that they now have what they need and now they need to go to market and they don't have an agent or they're independent and they need something and this is the make or break to determine if they're actually going to get paid? Like, what's the most painful action and you solving that? What do you think, Dan? How do you feel?
Yeah, I feel like that's definitely. There's so many different ways to tackle it. So obviously there are that you could just go to the straight bubble route, right? Like people go the straight developer route to build things all the time. But I think in order for you to build something really sustainable, the key thing, like Doc is saying, is identify these authors and identify the critical pain points that they have, and find out, if you haven't already, because you may have done this, we just don't know yet, but find out what their key pain point is and how are they trying to solve it. So if they're not trying to solve it, then they don't care.
Ooh, 1 second, Dan. They're saying, and the feedback is getting the book complete. But I think that's too vague. If it's what's that roadblock of complete?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because if for example, like for me, I want to lose weight. I've not been to the gym. I don't know how it's going to happen, right? So, but I say it to myself. There are people who are like, I want to write a book, or I want to write a script. But I'm like, how much do you want to write a script? Are you willing to pay for it? Like, do you? There's one of our mentors has this term that he uses called a compelling event. What is your compelling event that makes you need to buy this thing now? So is it like, oh, I've got like agents waiting for me, or I've got like I need to, or this is my last £10,000 and I really want to be an author. Like you want to find a type of author who has a compelling event, who is easy to find, who has a problem that they can identify, and they self-recognize this as well. Because if you have to explain to them who they are, oh, well, you a struggling author that struggles to finish books, everyone's going to say, yeah, but none of those people may pay for you. So there are key critical questions that I would be asking about these authors or this customer type before you go to the SaaS part, because the SaaS part, quote unquote, is easy, especially if you build the right thing. But the identifying the right customers is the hard part.
I love it. And by the way, Dan's on this because, first of all, his ideas. And I could be talking for like 25 minutes, but Dan just comes in, swoops in like 2 minutes, makes that smooth voice, makes it a reality. And then people in the chat are like, yes, understand. Yes, Dan needs to do this more often. That's exactly right. The shadow was talking about, she was saying, not knowing the structure. And not knowing the structure, that's still, so it's saying, I've been marketing writer's block and procrastination. That's the name of the app, Writer's Block Magic. But okay, but the thing is, are they hobby writers? Are they ones that already have a book deal? Have they already finished their first book deal and they're already procrastinating and they're trying to finish up the second and third?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It needs to be that kind of detail, because you can definitely have the app and it can phase out and be like, I'm capturing procrastination. But you need super users that care about your app. And you need to find out, are you doing it? It's very similar, like no code. Are you targeting hobbyists that are just getting involved, or ones that like, I need this app done to make money kind of thing?
So like the good way to break it down is, because oftentimes people think about their product or the service, they're like, I'm thinking about 1 million customers. There are 1 million authors in the world, or even if you were to break it down to 1,000. But actually, if you were to think about it, like your first 100, like the first 100 people, authors on your app, who are they? Are they people from your local area? Have they already written a book? Have they, or are they struggling to finish that book? Is being an author their paying thing, or is that what they want it to be? What behaviors are they exhibiting? What characteristics do they have? Like, how do they self-identify? Like in a really detailed way, like just 100. Like you should be able to get the name of 100, because that that will make it significantly easier for you to build something for those people that will likely serve 1,000, 10,000. So yeah, I think that's.
And let us know if this is helpful in the chat. Let us know if this is helpful or if this is like, no, I need more action. And the reason Dan, I love the way that you're talking about it because so my older sister, after years, she got a book deal. She got a 3-book deal. And the pain points of leading up for her getting her first publishing deal to where she is trying to finish her third book, that writer is totally different. She hangs out at a different place. She does all of these different behavior changes, and
exactly,
you know what I'm saying. And so an app of someone like, I'm just trying to finish a book for the first time. It's a hot no, that's a totally different group. That's a totally different how can I say mindset for you to motivate them to trigger to use the app versus like, listen, I got a family, I got a baby on the way, I got to do this thing, I need to do this. So I think this really allows, I think this is a conversation has become very expanded than what we were going to do. But I think it's important even before you get to Adalo. Erica, by the way, hello. Thank you so much for being here. It comes back down to user behavior and what you're going to be doing even before you design that app. And there was something that I saw. I took a UI UX course years ago, and I loved how he's like, the instructor was like, pull out your phone and your favorite app. Where's your thumb land? What's that main thing? What is the experience they want? They're like, just think about that with it. Your thumb is in the middle of the thing that they want you to do the most on the app. What is that main thing? What do you want that experience to be? How can you serve them and work backwards to design it? So as we go into Adalo and we're looking at this, and I'm going to go with my thinking, but Dan's going to have his own, which is great. And you'll see different perspectives. To me, get out a piece of paper, write down before you even open up Adalo, because you're going to see so much like shiny candy and like, I want to build it this way. Write down, this is for this type of user. This is what I want for it to accomplish. Success looks like this in the app. When success hits, this is the end screen. This is what's happening. And this is how they're going to feel.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Then I'm going to go in, find a template, and I'm lazy and I want to work fast, but I look for templates. I go to the marketplace first. Dan, how do you feel about that? Or how do you feel about what you do?
Yeah. So, I think it's really good what you said there. Another thing that people could do as well is write these things called user stories. So they're typically used in UI, UX design, but the framework is, as a user, I want to do X so that I can do Y. So as a user, I want to, so as an author, I want to be able to update my progress so that I can show off to my peers, for example. And if you write down as many of those as you can for the app and then try and minimize all the ones that you don't really need, you'll end up with a more simple to use application and a easier one to explain. Because one of the other things that you'll struggle with when you make a product or a service is just explaining what this thing is and explaining why anyone would care. And the less features you have, the easier it is to explain.
So true.
The more things it has, the more difficult it is, and you'll just lose people.
I was thinking about when you were saying this, and someone was who said it in the chat. They were talking about Remo91 was talking about this. It's great. I love this. I was just talking to the founder of ISOFlow, and we were talking about like if he's going to do something with no code. I just want to zoom in. This is a section that a lot of developers use, and they know how to do this. But a lot of ones that are coming over and designing for the first time, you're not used to building out diagrams or what's happening. Some people really like this, but I find that even like right here in the orange, you see like, okay, the user is going to be doing what? Using their phone or laptop. This is what my app's going to do. Now, this is really detailed of what it's going to do on the inside. But sometimes even thinking about like, my user's right here. It's doing this. The user is going to be doing this. This is what it's accomplishing. I like frameworks for people to visualize. If this is too much and you're like, Doc, like move on. maybe also a marketplan.io. It's for marketing, but allowing you to understand where the user is, how they're going to interact with each page. And it's more marketing centric. So don't look for it to be like built out for apps, but sometimes it's important for you to understand the workflow of what's happening. And that might help.
Absolutely. And actually leading on to Adalo, doing that first actually makes your life so much easier. So I was building an app for a client, the one I was talking about recently, and they gave me some mock-ups of how they thought it should work, and I was just like, I'll just do it like that. But then realized that the logic wouldn't work out. And if I planned my thing up first, which is what I did this morning, and I remade it really easily. But if you plan your thing out first, it makes sure your thinking just clearer, and you don't get confused about what people are supposed to do on what pages. So I think actually drawing something out with a pen and paper or on a screen using one of these tools will help you just understand logically, oh, so my user is meant to go from here to here, and at here they're meant to have this data so that they can do this. And it just makes your life easier. And it also makes you realize that you don't want to overcomplicate your app because it gets very complicated.
Exactly. Oh, the questions are flying in now. So this is good. Okay, so this is really good. So first, Sam was talking about from Twitter, and by the way, for all my all my Twitch people, thank you so much. So let's go with this. Sam was talking about playing devil's advocate here, guys. How much validation, proof of concept can you take by piggybacking off of your competitors' success? I.e., SaaS companies, services that needs a group B1, therefore your SaaS company is B, can do the same thing. Oh, by the way, thanks so much for being here, Rick, as well, and Sam. Do you want to go first, Dan, and then I'll go? Is that all right?
Yeah. Okay, so validation is an all-encompassing word, but what you really need to be understand is what are you actually validating? Because you might not be validating whether there is a business idea here, but like people may not want to go to your B2 or B, right? Like you might not be able to acquire those customers. So you should try and test out those things first. You should try and validate whether you can acquire those customers. If you create a landing page that says, this is what this company offers, but this is what we are going to be doing differently, sign up here and we'll keep you updated, then at least you're validating demand of some way. Because as I mentioned before, there's more to it than just the application. So I think you were perfectly right. I think you need to another example that I use is burger joints or a gym. If someone said to you that they wanted to start a gym, you wouldn't say there's already a million gyms out there. You'd say, okay, where's it going to be? Who's going to be your customer type? How are you going to market to people? What gym equipment are you going to have? Or if you're going to have a burger joint, what's your burgers? Like what road is it going to be on? Like are you going to be on any of the apps that serve customers? So you have to understand what it is that you're actually validating first. Because if you build a like-for-like copy or something, but you can't get any customers, that's a bad business.
That's so good. And so we're pulling up, this is actually how to validate your side hustle in 1 hour. Exactly what Dan was talking about. We have it down here on page 1. We go through, okay, do people need your service? Does it already exist? And even if it exists, exactly what Dan was talking about, like, even if you decide to do this on the other side, like what makes you either better or different or what's going on? You know, it's kind of like they were talking about this was actually in my first million. They were talking about taking things from like single player but multiplayer, and then seeing if that validates. Like Microsoft Word and Office was single player mode. Google jacked it and did multiplayer mode for Word and Sheets, and it was the same exact thing. Okay, but a lot of people needed that. So
exactly same thing with Sketch and Figma.
Yeah. It's so true. So it's like, okay, can you change the player behavior? Can you like change one thing that you're like, oh, this is what it's doing? Like for me, I think about SendFox from AppSumo. A lot of people are intimidated from email CRMs. They can't do it. They're taking something and they're like, we're going to automate. So you like MailChimp? How about we just automate it and you just have to tell us what you want and we will make the emails for you. Okay, like
Exactly.
it takes those things. So I think you can validate from that other company, but I love how Dan was saying, and I'm taking notes. Remember, quantify your validation. Is it for validation for the users? Is it validation? And this is me. I'm on the other spectrum. I'm like, validation to me is usually how much money can I make in a short period of time for me to see if I should continue. That's my validation 99% of the time.
Yeah, and that's great. Like I think everyone will have that validation threshold, right? So as long as you are self-aware enough to be able to understand what it is that you're actually validating, so that you know when to stop or when to continue, or if you should continue.
Yeah,
because you don't want to be in that middle ground, right?
exactly. I love it. Oh, by the way, in the chat, some people are saying, "Where is that 1 hour validation form?" I'm dropping it in the chat, so it's free. Again, you can go through it yourself, not a problem. And just try it out. Do the validating yourself and see what happens. Okay. The next question we have. Okay, Deshauna brings up, and this is good. Deshauna was talking about my avatar is a single working mom wanting to exit the 9 to 5 to make an impact. So it's nonfiction and transformational writing. Okay, that's good. So if it's transformational writing, I would almost be like, okay, they're still working the 9 to 5. So maybe not even completing the entire book. Is it completing the outline of the book? Is it completing, or where do they stop? Like you have already had this part. Or is it chapter 3? Is it after they've tried this 7 times? After every month they stop and they try to do another nonfiction? Are they returning back to the same book, the same story? Like I would really go deep. And to me, if I'm trying to validate it, even before the app, I would probably do a focus group and do a challenge. Do a challenge for like a 7-day. Like if anyone knows what NaNoWriMo is, it's not national novel writing month in November. How many people can't finish? Like, and they have groups to see like pushing through, right? So you have to write 1,600 words a day. Where do they fall short? And people build out other groups based on where people fall short in the challenge. So Deshauna, I think you can delve into what's happening with that, because 9 to 5, that's a lot. Working moms, that's a lot. Like,
that's exactly what I was going to say. It's like, how do you that? Yes, it's a really great beginning for a profile. And I'm really liking it, and I'd love you to dig deeper. So you may already have this information as well. So I might be teaching you to suck eggs, just like, and you're like, you guys don't know anything. But how would you identify those people? Like, where are they? Like, are they in writing clubs already? Is there a writing club that you can go into to say, oh, I'm doing this thing that might help? Is it people working mums and 9 to 5s in finance? Like that, the more you detail down get into the details and get into the weeds, the more clear your proposition will be, and the easier it will be to identify and find those people.
Love it. Deshauna, let us know if that helps in the chat. And Sam, thank you so much for the questions. Rick, thanks so much for waking up and seeing this program. This is great. Okay, I promise we're going to get to Adalo, but this is helping. I hope this helps, because this is really what makes it so effective. And if you've seen some of the videos, that's why we can build apps so quickly in Adalo, because you are laser focused before you get in there and being overwhelmed. There's just a few. So Amtrust is saying, Amtrust 23, hey guys, love what you do. I'm looking to build an Audible style app, sort of like Soundwise. Is it possible with Adalo? If so, any ideas? Thank you both. And he says, or you can, I think Remo is also saying, or also you could use Bubble. Can I go first with this one, Dan?
Yeah, absolutely.
The only thing is, because I use Soundwise, I would say, number one, first of all, are you doing it for yourself, or are you doing this to scale it to provide this service for someone else? The other thing is, if you've used Soundwise, where basically I view it as it's like building audio courses. It allows you to build your entire brand on audio, on the back of audio. So if you're using something like Soundwise, what features are you trying to take out of Soundwise to make this your own app? What do you need that to look like? So when you go into Adalo or Bubble, we can kind of go through those features. But I would say if you're going to compete and you're saying like Soundwise-esque, why wouldn't they just use Soundwise that's already built? Why would you want to do it? And this could be a hobby and you're doing it for yourself. You don't want to pay the fees of Soundwise, but delving into that, that would be really good. As we go into that, Dan, please, I would love your.
Oh, no. I was going to just say I agree. But I think functionally, yeah, I'm not really sure what Soundwise does. So I'd need to fully understand what the features were. But you could do, for example, the whole niche thing is you could do Soundwise for gamers, I don't know, or for lawyers, and then you spin off and you've got your niche that way. So it could be a similar replica with some more nuance elsewhere. But yeah, I think the understanding what the features were that make people enjoy that and find value in it first is going to be critical to be able to understand whether you should do one or the other.
And the thing is with Soundwise, this is just me. So this goes back to what you're looking for, what you're trying to do. To me, this goes back into something I love to call SWAS. I did not come up with it, but I love it. Software with a service. If you're already targeting people and they're like, I need to build my business on X, Y, and Z, and I love this, and you're thinking about Soundwise in the background, why not just say, I'm going to get this done for you. You use Soundwise, and you're saying, I'm going to keep up this platform. I'm going to do all these things for you to have this experience. They don't care what it's called. They just need it done. And if you've got the software in to do it, you get an affiliate, you get paid every month that they pay, and then you're getting paid as a retainer because they don't want to learn this platform. And they're going to say, hey, go do this every month. And now you have reoccurring customers based off of a platform that you don't have to go out and build. And they're going to stay with you long term because the reality is they don't want to do the work for the most part. Like Dan was saying, if it's for lawyers and you're like, oh, I'm going to build all this stuff. You think a lawyer 9.5 times, you're not going to have them. You're not going to have lawyers that are like, wait, I need to stop this to learn how to build this platform. No, they're going to say, here's my money. And so what's the goal? Is it what can you do? And you can still scale that operation very well to keep it lean because it's not just you doing all the work after a while. You create your SOPs, you have teams to just do exactly what you need to do. You scale that, and it's a lot leaner than a full agency and having all this stuff. That's what I would do. But it depends on what you're trying to do. Yeah. One last thing
always.
too. Deshaun was asking about how. Oh, what you say, Dan? I'm sorry.
Oh no. I was just agree.
Oh, sorry about that. It got choppy for a second. Sorry. One last thing too, as we go into Adalo, but Deshauna brought up about her about the focus group. How would I get it? To me, and let me know what you think, Dan. I would look for Facebook groups or subreddit groups for writers, for ones exactly like what you talked about. You explain who you are, explain why you're trying to solve this pain point, and you offer them a very specific type of challenge where it's 7 days, 14 days. And I would not do 30 days because so many people drop off at 30. So it's really concrete. You're giving them feedback. You're saying, hey, I'm going to be having a Zoom group that you can join every night or every this type of night. And you become that authority of that focus group. And you're helping them you're struggling here and you're getting them to a concrete, realistic goal at the end of the challenge. And you will have all the information you need for that app.
Yep. So that's definitely a doc way of doing it, and I love that way, and I'm going to definitely try that with one of my projects as well. Yes. So as you've mentioned before, there are multiple ways of being able to get to any goal. So no code versus code thing is a non-starter if your business idea is terrible. So it doesn't really matter. But so when it comes to finding people to speak to, you've got docs way as well. Another way you could do it is you should likely have people in your circle already who are already your your target customer. If you just ask people to identify themselves, so is anyone an author? Does anyone know any authors or struggling authors? Can they can you put them in touch with me? Once you've got them, then like authors know other authors usually, so or groups of people know other groups of people. And then the other thing that you want to do as well, though, is ask relatively open questions. So there's two ways, as I mentioned. You could go Doc's way. This way is a more of a discovery way. If you're like, I actually don't know what the problem is, you could ask them to tell you about their writer experience. And if you find enough people, you'll likely start hearing the same things over and over again. It might be, oh, I really struggle to finish my outline, and like I work, and things only ever work for me when I'm under a time pressure. Is that cool? Now you can make an app that helps people create an outline in 24 hours. Otherwise, they have to forfeit $100. It's like, right, like because you've heard repeatedly the same thing from those customers.
Yep. I love it, and I love that. So with our coaching program, with that, we actually have it in writing that if they go through the first month and don't do any of the work, and this is in our high end, this is our 5K, but they have to take out $2,000 in cash and record themselves burning their money.
Oh, wow. Wow.
I'm waiting for it because that's going to be the best marketing video that I can have. 100%. But everyone does. Like I'm dead serious. I'm like, by the way, if you look in your contract, it says it. Now, some people are like, you can't burn money. That's against the law for the United States. But listen, it works. No one ever. I'm like, fine, if you won't burn it because I need this for marketing, you need to find me something that you love that's $2,000 and give it to me.
Yeah.
Hands down. Yeah. No, seriously. And that level of accountability, they do exactly what you need to do. And guess what? They get the results. So I love how if you're putting skin in the game, that's really good stuff. Deshaun is saying that thank you, wonderful, thank you so much. You two are awesome. Thank you. Amtrust is also saying, yeah, I've heard that, but you know, I'm waiting for people to screw up in our accountability group so I can do this. Also, to Amtrust is saying this is great. And then also to Erica said. This is what I'm trying to do for business coaches that are busy to do for events. Remember, it's the same exact format that Dan's saying. This is a rinse and repeat. So you need to find out where busy business people are, where they are on LinkedIn, who are they talking to, who do they trust to get the solution, get in front of them, offer what you need to do. Excellent. Okay, guys. All right. So this is really great. the last 5 minutes, now we're going to go into Adalo. But if you don't mind, I want to show something on Adalo, and then I have questions for you, Dan, if you don't mind.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
So I think this has been great. I love conversation. Yeah. And this is what me and Dan, before we talked about, I said, when the audience talks, I'm like, we don't know where we're going to go. We said we were going to do Adalo, and it was going to be like a breakdown for an hour of Adalo. It turns out it's only going to be 5 minutes. But I think this is really important. And all of you in the audience, thank you so much. This show cannot be here unless it's you and your participation. So thank you. With Adalo, the reason I like this so much, after I'm writing down all of my ideas and what's happening, I literally just go to the templates because I get overwhelmed from a blank screen. And then I look at what I wrote down, and I can usually find some kind of version where I can start out with that are here, right? So a Notion-inspired dark UI minimal blog, right? So this is just something to think about. If I'm Deshaun, you're talking about writing or something, I'm looking at minimal blog. Is it distraction? Do I need them just to write things down? I'm looking at what can I do quickly to get them to my goal, right? So if I'm looking at different things, usually almost 90% of the time, I'm going to just find it in a template, and then I'm going to go edit it once I take out a template and go from there. Even someone asked me about, well, you said ordering with Uber Eats, you built it with Uber Eats, but it doesn't have Google Maps API to tell me where I'm at. I'm like, okay, so let me ask you something. Do you have even anyone that wants to be a driver under you for you instead of Uber Eats? do you have any restaurant that you're like, and they're like, no and no. I'm like, so why does it matter to you? Go find a restaurant that needs curbside. Go do that. Like, you don't need a app to follow around where you are in the car. And did you validate the people that need to follow their driver?
Yeah, exactly.
So go back, and this is where I go. How about you, Dan? Do you go into templates first? What do you do?
So typically, I like a blank screen when I'm in Adalo because I have a vision of what I want to do. I think oftentimes though that is there is a blocker because I may. One of the things in life, just in general, is that someone has probably already done the thing that you're trying to do. So if in Adalo, there's probably someone who's already tried some of these features, and they've also got the templates and stuff. So you can probably accelerate some parts of your app. The key reason why it's acceleration is because as Doc was saying, the validation of your idea doesn't stop with the app. Like once you show people the app, they might be like, "That's cool. I'm not paying you for it." So you want to try and get you want to try and do as little as possible in order for you to understand what you actually need to do. And as little as possible might be complicated. That's not saying make something out of cardboard, but I'm just saying just do the least that you possibly can get away with in order for you to find out truly what the demand is for either repeated use, payment, the other things that you're validating.
Yeah, excellent. And you know what it looks like to success. But if you're brand new to this might still be overwhelming. You just looking at all of this. Excuse me. So think about that validation. Does it need to be a landing page? Can you just talk about it? Can people validate before you go here? Because if you're not used to doing this is a lot of freedom. Like Dan's like, yes, give me this. I can do all these things. Other people are like, I see a web of confusion and I don't even like what? No, I'm done right here.
Yeah. That's it. It's like when I first started with Adalo, this was confusing to me. And now in the space of this morning, I created something that's maybe like 3 times as complicated. But I get it. But the thing is, I would just urge you just to try building things in Adalo, just super simple things, and then just learn how everything works. And then and learn how databases should be connected. Because actually, that's one of the key things that will probably stump you.
Yeah.
Understanding how your data structures need to be related to each other, it will be one of the key reasons why your app doesn't work and you'll be frustrated and pulling your hair out.
Can I mention? Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Dan.
That's why drawing stuff is really useful, because if you're like, parents can have many children and a child can have 2 parents or many parents, then you're like, okay, cool, so many to many relationship. Yeah. So like just understanding how your items are related to each other will just help you with Adalo in understanding how the logic and how the data is supposed to flow.
And with that, I love what you just said. Shout out to Adalo. I think they're my favorite platform that makes it easy to understand database that I've ever seen.
Exactly. Yeah.
Bubble, like, it don't even get me. Listen, it's more powerful. It's your type of person. Like, that's over here. But this allows you to think like did you see the tutorial of like when you learn database in Adalo? I'm like, this makes so much sense. When it gives you examples of database, I'm like, sold.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And again, this sets up your database. If you're like, listen, guys, I screw all this. I don't want to even think about database. Guess what? You need a different tier. You need to go to BuildFire or Good Barber that has a structured database that you can't break and you can't mess with. But if that's a place you can't go and you can't invest the time or energy and you just need to go, if database are very big in Adalo for expansive apps, I say you switch platforms if you're not willing to invest in that time and energy. That's all.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
We got more questions. I have questions for you on your app. Hold on one second. I heard that. Okay. So my bot asks question and pumps out the outline, then goes to the content of the book questions, pumping out to the first draft, then following the marketing materials for the book. So should I stick with the bot until it's fully validated? Absolutely. I mean, Deshaun, you're already doing all that work right there. Shoo. I mean, you're just going to redo it and it might look prettier in Adalo or in these other apps. Keep going. keep going. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Also too, Dan, did you have something? I'm sorry.
Oh no. Just saying, absolutely. Just keep validating, and like I don't know if he's getting paid from it or they're getting paid from it yet.
Yeah.
If they are not, then try and figure out how to get paid from that first. Because if people are getting the information but they're not willing to pay for it, then you have other problems.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly right. 750-ish says, "Hey Doc and Dan, what's your thoughts on a no-code newsletter for handpicked, validated no-code ideas?"
Mm.
So to me, I'm listen. I read a lot of newsletters. That makes sense. I like the handpick, the curated. I love that feeling. I've got to me, I'm just being totally honest. I'm reading trends.co. I'm reading trends.vc. I'm reading exploding topics. I'm reading Trenderly. Like if I'm doing that, I need an association for those validated no code ideas. I need the opportunities of how much money those ideas are going to make me, and probably case studies for me to buy in, to want to invest time and energy into it, because I feel that a lot of different newsletters, if you go from Drew's or trends.co, I don't see why I can't use any of those ideas with no code.
Yeah.
How do you feel, Dan?
It's an interesting one. So this goes back to like characteristics of behaviors. Who is the kind of person who wants quote unquote validated ideas? Is it someone who wants to build a long-term business and just trying stuff out and lucking out? Or is it someone who is interested in trends and opportunities? So for example, Doc is interested in trends as a whole. So his whole thing is like, oh, I see a macro trends or micro trends and I can build things off of them really quickly. That's the kind of person that he is. If you're looking for someone who's trying to build a business, then they may not be interested in the trends and they may just be waiting for a potluck of like, oh, maybe this is the idea that I want to try. And what you want to try and do is just try and understand who the kind of person is who wants that kind of content. So you could also just create a landing page. The no code community is easy to find. If you're trying to target no coders, the chances are they don't want your thing. So there's probably a number of people who are not no coders who don't know what no code is, and then you have to explain to them what no code is, and then you're in another loop there. So there probably is a business in there, but you probably want to try and find people who care about validated ideas, care about no code, and don't know what it is and can't build things themselves.
Yeah, really good stuff. Okay. So, and these questions are great. Like they're flying. This is great stuff.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Thank you very much, guys.
Yeah,
Ladies and gentlemen.
this is good stuff. You bring so much value every live. It's wonderful. Thank you again. Thank you, Deshaun, for being here. Thank you, everyone, for being here. We haven't finished yet. I do have to ask Dan. You know what? This is so funny. Last week, this isn't the only reason I was like, Dan, you need to be online. But Dan, I was like, I need to know this thing with Adalo. But keep asking questions, and thank you for all being here. So we got a question. Her name, I think, is Naomi. Naomi was talking about building this in Adalo, and they're trying to do almost like an app where they're trying to bring positivity and affirmation, and they're trying to do it one day at a time and send different messages. And I was like, oh, I already know the perfect person for this. I was like, is Dan. Could you talk about the app that you built in Adalo and a little bit about that? And then could I ask you some questions about it?
Absolutely, yeah. So I built an app called Micro, and the reason why I built it in the first place was I was scratching my own itch, which was, as a busy founder and human being, I was getting to the end of every week and not really realizing what I had done, and like hadn't taken any time to really reflect on my wins. So it just felt like I'd had a terrible week, when it actually, during the course of the week, I'd done things that were nourishing for my mind or for my soul or for my body. So I was like, okay, I want to try and record those things, so that when over the course of the week, I can look back and say, hey, like I've actually done something that I consider a win. So I built it in Adalo, which is a journaling app, which I didn't know what it was beforehand. So I hadn't heard about journaling. until I built it, and then I showed it to people, and people were like, "Oh, you built a journaling app," and I was like, "Oh, I guess that's what it is." So yeah, it allows you to input some entries, and then say what type of win it was, and then it throws up some statistics that shows your wins over the last 7 days. And the mechanics for that was to try and get you into a loop of activity, saying, "Oh, I did gym 7 days ago, and now it says I haven't done any gym. Maybe I should go to the gym again." Or I haven't called my mom in 7 days. So there was a loop, some kind of gamification there to try and keep your levels up of nourishing things for yourself. And yeah, it took me a bit to build it because I was still learning it at the time. And yeah, I've got a lot of positive feedback from it, and I definitely want to build more apps. And people are asking for more features for it too, and then we can dig into that a little bit more too.
That's excellent. That's excellent. Okay, so I'm pulling up their question right now for you. Hold on 1 second. I need this in my life. First of all, Deshaun is saying I need this in life. Dan, could you drop the link? Is it, so tell people how they can access it. Is it a mobile app? Can they tell us about this?
It's just a PWA, progressive web app, and you can go to micro.win, WIN, and it will take you to a card landing page, and then from there you'll be able to go to the Adalo app and have a wonderful time, hopefully.
You said micro win. What was it?
Yeah, micro.win. So MIKRO.win. Yeah.
All right, I'm pulling it up right now. Micro dot win? Really? I'm having an error. But this might be, listen. So could you drop the link? Could you drop the link?
Yep, sure.
So Naomi's talking about this. Hold on 1 second. I'm pulling up her question. Okay, I'm thinking about creating a wellness app which acts as a journal and sends daily SMS affirmations. So have you messed with text messages?
Not yet. So actually, that is the key, most requested feature, and the reason why numbers drop off after a while, because people forget, including myself. So the feature that I'm going to try over this Christmas is basically either daily or weekly reminders to send to the user either an update or a summary of their progress. So I think in order for me to do that, I will need to connect to Parabola, I think, and then one of the SMS texting message sites, or I was going to use the email functionality for email reminders.
That's good.
Yeah.
It's good times. Good times. Yeah. That's a really good question.
Yeah, it was a really good question. I think one of the things that I wanted to do as well was play around with turning it into a native app, because I think actually I don't really want to be sending text messages because they cost money, but notifications. But I haven't actually created a native mobile app in Adalo yet. So that's one of the other things that I'd want to play around with as well.
And Remo 991 says, would you use Twilio if you're doing text that way?
Yeah, so I think Twilio would be a really good shout. And apparently the API is meant to be really easy to use. So that's one of the other key things. Like once you started using Adalo, then the next thing is just learning about how the APIs work and the custom actions work. And I think that's where I'm at now, just really trying to nail that down.
Excellent. That's great stuff. Listen, everyone, man, this is spanning all kinds of stuff. This is great. So, I want you to do this. I'm gonna put it in the comment section when this, the full video and everything. We'll link to Dan's projects. Make sure you hit up Dan. Dan, where can the good people find you at, by the way?
So you can find me at Yodan Parry, which is down here somewhere. Yodan Parry on Twitter. You can find me on my new website that I'm building in Notion, inspired by many of the Notion fans that I've got, and Notion fans that I know as well. So, and that's at yodanlabs.co. And I will put that link in there too, yodanlabs.co. And and then Dan Parry on LinkedIn, just Yodan Parry. I'm just out here. You can also find me through Doc. And on the 100 Days of No Code community and in MakerPad, all the places that you find no coders.
Good times. Good times. That's what I love to see.
And also my website, my company website, which is the customer research company, is tectoniclondon.com. And I'll put that in the chat as well, where we help people. That's why I know a lot about customer research and
That's
behavior
awesome.
stuff.
Thank you so much. Yes. And some people, who is it? Some are asking about discovery calls. Yes. So I do consulting calls. Dan, do you do consulting calls?
Yeah. Yeah. You could tell from my high pitch. Yeah. So I've got two other co-founders. My brother is the CEO, and then another one that does the interviews and stuff. And I basically do a lot of the internal projects, which is where my love of no code comes from. So.
Cool. Yeah. So hit us up. I dropped mine down in the chat below. Dan is an awesome person. Obviously, you see all the great things that he's doing. Go talk to him. He has so many good projects. Follow him on Twitter. Do all of these things. And it sounds like we'll definitely have you on the show for round 2. But
yeah, I could do another 3 hours of this right now. I probably need some water, but yeah,
exactly. You heard my voice in a second. I was like, I got way too hyped for a second. So this is great. One last question came out too. Can you use Nimbus like you use Notion? Would you suggest it? The only thing is too, Deshauna, I mean, you can use Nimbus, but I mean, I gotta have a really good reason why I'm not going to use Notion. I haven't found, maybe because I built too much land on Notion for me to be like, I gotta put it over here. But for the most part, I think they have unlimited blocks now for their free plan. For personal, you can build pretty much whatever you need in Notion. And to me, that's how I make most of my websites now. We have our entire Brand Factory operating system in Notion now. We have all of our SOPs. So, and I mean, I can build out databases. We just built out the My First Million search engine. I just like how versatile it is, how easy it is to use. So you could use. What do you say?
And the API is coming soon as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly. Right. They better. They've been saying it for like 2 years.
Yeah.
But no, it's true.
When coronavirus is gone, it'll be out.
Yeah, exactly. When I can start traveling, the API will be out.
100%. Yeah.
But that's exactly right. I mean, it's so much room on it. I'm gonna go with Notion. I'm betting a lot on Notion. So Nimbus, but I'm like, listen, if you bought it on AppSumo, you're ready to roll. Nimbus, go ahead, do it. But for me, long term, I'm gonna be using Notion, and it's cheap. It's free for a lot of things. So yeah, that's what we're gonna do. So again, guys, we're going to be doing a lot of videos coming up soon. Oh, by the way, the video that's dropping tomorrow is how I built so basically the NFL Combine. How could you do the NFL Combine for kids in school? It's a validated of a $10 million per year business. I built it in 24 minutes. So that video is going to be out tomorrow. So if you need anything else,
bullying people.
Listen, just trying to do this out in this piece. That's all. Oh, there we go. So this is good. All right, guys. So Dan, you're hanging on. Everyone else, just make sure comments. Go follow Dan. Go show him love. Go talk to him, and we'll see all of you in the next episode. All right. Have a great night, everybody.
Take care, everyone. See ya.